One of my number one downloads on the website is the Student Teacher Action Rating Sheet. And this is a behavior rating sheet that really works and people really like it. But I thought I'd do a PowerPoint just in case you aren't familiar with it and would like to have a behavior rating sheet that really works. I send this out a lot to people, and whenever I send it out, I always ask them, please write me back and let me know, did it really work? Or if it did work, how long did it take before you started to see behavior change? And if it didn't work, I'll help you come up with a plan for something else. So let's take a look at it. So the typical behavior rating sheet, the educator gives a student a score. So they might walk up to the desk and the teacher gives them 1 out of 5 stars or whatever rating scale they're using. So what happens is the student walks away from the adult thinking, my teacher gave me a 1. So most of the time it makes them mad at the teacher for the score the teacher gave them. What we want them walking away thinking is, I earned a 1. What could I do to get a higher score? So we want them putting it on themselves, thinking about what could I do to get a higher score? I use this rating scale 3, 2, 1. 3 is a great hour, no behavioral learning opportunities occurred. 2 is a pretty good hour. I only had to have a few booster shot reminders. And a 1, this hour could have been a lot better. So 3 is great hour, 2 is pretty good hour, and 1 is this hour could have been better. With younger students, I use great big smiley face, medium smiley face, and a half smile. And the worst I would use with young students is a straight face. I don't believe in using zeros with older kids to talk about behavior, and I don't believe in using sad faces with little kids to talk about behavior. So I don't use the zero or the sad face to talk about behavior because I believe it gets internalized as I'm a bad kid. Once that track is playing in their head, those are the behaviors that you'll see. And the reason I feel this way is because a lot of times when I'm in schools, principals will ask me to talk to different kids about their behavior. And so after I build a little rapport with them, usually the kid will say to me something like, you know why they asked you to talk to me, don't you? And I'm like, no, why? And they go, because I'm a bad kid. So anytime a kid says that to me, I always say, that's an interesting thought. What would make you think that? And almost 9 times out of 10, they'll say, because I get sad faces when it's a little kid. And so they've internalized that sad face as I'm a bad kid, and then that becomes the track in their brain. So the team decides to work on 2 behaviors. And I don't ever let anybody work on more than that because I think sometimes we try to fix everything all at once. I always say, what 2 behaviors, if they became better, your life would be better. So for this pretend student that we're using here, and I've definitely written this many, many times, let's say the student engages in horseplay and blurts. So you write the positive behavior that you want to see, the replacement behavior. So keep hands and feet to self and raise hand and wait to be called on. Now, if this is a non-reader, you could put picture exchange communication pictures in those squares so that they could relate to that, at least on their sheet. So those are the 2 behaviors that we want to work on. And then we divide the sheet out into columns. So I divided this one out just into 6 hours of the day, but you could do reading and then recess, and then so you could do natural breaks at the elementary level. At the secondary level, you may have 7 hours depending on how your day is divided. And so you might have a seventh hour that you would want to add on to this, but you decide whatever would be a natural break. What you don't want to do is wait till the end of the day and give a score, because kids won't learn anything from that. That's like taking a puppy and rubbing their nose in a spot on the carpet where they piddled, and doing it 3 hours after they piddled. It's not going to make any sense to the puppy why you're doing that, other than they'll just think you're mean. So we've got to be giving hourly feedback to the students. The third behavior that you're going to write down is when we're pretty sure the child will do every single hour. So on this particular one, I just put down start work within 2 minutes. It's like a free space in bingo. We want kids to have success. And so we put something that we're pretty sure they're going to do. Sometimes people like to fry kids and make it hard for them. I think it's really important that we let them have success every hour. So we put down something that we know the child can accomplish every hour. So every hour, the teacher is going to be on one side of the room and the child's going to be on the other side of the room. And the teacher's going to sit down and write, well, you were a 2, a 3, and a 3, or whatever score they want to give the student for that behavior. The students on the other side of the room, and they have a laminated copy of their sheet so that you can use it again and again. You don't have to keep printing off a new sheet every day. So just give them a non-permanent marker. And I promise you the first time they're going to write down, I was a 3, a 3, and a 3. And then they're going to take the paper up to the teacher's desk or wherever the teacher does their form. And the teacher's going to write down everything they wrote. So beside her 2, they're going to write down a 3. And then beside her 3 for raising their hand, she's going to write a 3. And then starting work in 2 minutes, she's going to write a 3. And then she's going to counsel with them, okay, for keeping hands and feet to self, remember when you threw the spit wad? I know that's not your hands or your feet, but you were bothering other people by blowing a spit wad, which was with your hands and your lips. So I gave you a 2 for that. So here's how the rest of this goes. So the teacher, if you don't match, you don't earn any points. So the goal is for the student to try and figure out what the adult's going to give them for that behavior. So a 2 and a 3 doesn't match, no points. 3 and a 3 matches, I earn 3 points. 3 and a 3 matches, I earn 3 more points. So my score is 6. So for this first hour, I earned 6 points. This continues throughout the day with the teacher adding up the score each hour. So you can look at this for a second. So you can see there were a couple times where they didn't match and the student score was for that particular skill was 0, but they earned other points that hour. So there's never an hour that they have a 0 down on the bottom. Hopefully, um, shouldn't happen anyway. Now, the teacher then adds up the total points for the day. So 43 points for the total day. So this kid could have earned 9 points times 6 hours. So 54 points for the day would be the top score. So they got 43 out of 54. So then we take the score, so 54, and then I just take it times 90% and then times 80% and then times 70% and times 60%. And what we do is we let them choose a reinforcer for their top number. So the top number 51 to 54, this particular child might have chosen getting to choose what family movie they watch that night. Maybe this is a family that always chooses a movie, a Disney movie or something to watch at night. And so the child gets to choose that. I like family members reinforcing kids at home for good behavior at school. So we just come up with reinforcers for each level. And the top one is the one they're most desiring. So what I do I have a handout titled 100 Ways Family Members Can Reinforce Their Children at Home for Good Behavior at School. So I meet with the family members first and I have them highlight the things they're willing to do. I don't want them highlighting let mom fix dinner if mom isn't willing to let the child come stand in the kitchen and stir the jello or whatever would be appropriate for their child's age level. So I let them choose first, then we bring the child down, we explain to them how this is going to work, and we say what would be your top reinforcer? What would you really like to work for? And so whatever they say from the list that we read to them, that's what we put at the highest point value. That way, you know you have the thing they really want to work for, and then you can choose the other levels. And you don't have to go all the way down if you don't want to. You can make your scores tighter so that there's only 3 choices. It's up to you. That's just how I do it. Sometimes family members aren't able to reinforce at home. Maybe they work the evening shift and the child's at a home care setting. So in that case, we find a reinforcer at school. I had one young man that his reinforcer was if he got all of his points, he got to walk around the last 15 minutes of the day with the custodian and empty the trash cans with him. And really, it was just the camaraderie with the custodian. It was an adult male role model. And on Friday, if he had earned all of his points for the week, the custodian had made him a little shorter broom. He was a fourth grader. He had made him a shorter broom and taken the broom off and put a tennis ball and attached it to the end of the broomstick. And he and the boy would walk around the hallway erasing all the black scuff marks made from tennis shoes, which was really cute. But what they were doing was really just walking and talking. And that really was the reinforcer. So there's always something that a child will work for. We just have to figure out what it is. Sometimes a child is reactive when they don't match the adult. So when we have a child who blows up because the teacher didn't have the same score they had, we add a fourth row that says accepts score. And every hour, so let's look at the first hour up here. So the 2 and the 3 didn't match, the 3 and the 3 matched, the 3 and the 3 matched. So I would explain to the student why we didn't match. You threw the spit wad, and that's not appropriate behavior. So that's why I gave you a 2. If the kid accepts the score and says, okay, I understand, they're going to get 3 points for accept score. If I explain to them why we didn't match and they go, that's not fair, they're going to get 2 points for that. And then if I explain to them why we didn't match and they pound their fist or stomp their foot or raise their voice really loud, they only get 1 point. And the goal is to get the most points possible. So we do the same thing all the way across for the day, add up the points. You would just adjust the scores. It's probably still going to come out pretty much what it would if you didn't have that in there, but there are opportunities for them to bump their score up into the highest level just by accepting the score. So they could have gotten up to the higher level if they had accepted the score. The young child version already has the faces drawn. I've done this with kids as young as 4 and as old as 18. For a 4-year-old drawing a smiley face, it's really hard to tell if it's a great big smile, a medium smile, or a half smile. So I have them already drawn on the paper. It's laminated just like the other one. They color in the one they think they were. They bring it up to the teacher's area and the teacher converts it from a great big smiley face to a 3 or a medium smiley face to a 2 or a half smile to a 1. So it works the same way. We just have them color in what they think that they're doing. And again, I said you can put icons for the behavior that you want. So hands and feet to self could be a picture of a child with their hands folded. Um, Raising hand and waiting to be called on could be a picture of their hand in the air, and you can just insert that into that first column. This can be tied into your check-in, check-out program. And so I like to start right here. I'm going to use my purple pen and I'm going to show you right here. So we start right here in the day. We have the morning check-in with the preferred adult, which is part of check-in, check-out. One of the things that I like that adult to do is to review this graph of the behaviors that they earned the day before. So we graph the points that they earned, and even a 4-year-old can graph their points if you use the chunky block graph paper and you draw a line and they color up to how far up you drew the line in the columns. So they can graph their own points. Then we have the hourly teacher evaluation every hour. I like for, especially in the beginning, for kids to have a midday check-in with the preferred adult and then the hourly teacher evaluation the rest of the day. And then they go to their checkout person who helps them graph their points. They have a home check-in where they earn a reinforcer. And then I ask the family member to report back the next day what reinforcer their child earned, because sometimes kids didn't earn the top reinforcer. And then they whine and cry and beg, and the family member goes ahead and lets them go for the pickup truck ride with dad or help them make dinner or whatever it is. So whenever that happens, the parent will write the appropriate answer on the paper, but the child will always go, I got to go for the pickup truck ride with dad, even though they were warned not to say that. So whenever that happens, I always call the family member and I just say, hey, I raised 3 kids. I know exactly what happened. You were trying to get dinner on the table and they were whining and crying and begging, please, 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 please. And sometimes you just give in. And the thing is with this, we've got to mean what we say and say what we mean. And so the next time your child is whining, crying, and begging for the higher reinforcer, here's my phone number. You call me and I'll talk you off the ledge. Because every time we give in and let them have the higher reinforcer, then they know they can get away with it the next day and the next day and the next day. And eventually this intervention isn't going to work. Now, if you're not willing to give out your phone number, just tell them they need to phone a friend, find a friend they can call to talk them off the ledge. Either way would work just fine, but this system really does work if we are following the expectations of the student teacher. Okay. So, if you'd like to download a written version of this, you can go to tinyurl.com stars BDS. So stars is all capital letters, BDS is lowercase. That stands for Behavior Doctor Seminars, and this is called the STARS worksheet. So tinyurl.com/stars BDS. You can download a whole packet that has blanks for you and directions written out in case anything I said wasn't exactly clear. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that this was informative. My email is caughtyoubeinggood@gmail.com and my website is behaviordoctor.org. So have a great day. Good luck.